Hi guys, it's Nicola Rodriguez from Australia Down Under, and today I just wanted to have a chat with you about something that I heard on the radio this morning, and I was kind of a little bit upset when I heard this and shocked too, because it really, for what I've been learning over the last few years, and now to have results come out where the government is now agreeing with these results, it sort of is really starting to open our eyes about things, right? Because the government says that we need to test our children in school, okay? So right through from prep, right through up to, they're finishing school, right into uni, we have tests, we have exams, we have everything that, they need to pass this and pass that to be able to move on to the next thing. And if they don't pass, then they're not going to get allocated other things in the future. So recently here in Australia, we had what is called our NAPLAN test. Our NAPLAN test is Australia-wide, and it tests all grades 3, 5, 7, and 9. Now, what came out as a really interesting result this year was that majority of these results came out worse than they were 10 years ago. So in 10 years of education, in 10 years that we've had technology around incorporated into our schools over that 10 years, why is it that these test results are showing that our kids are supposedly dumber, right? They're actually saying that they're dumber than previous years and previous tests. I somehow don't agree with this. Okay, so let's have a look at the stats, right? We got reading, for example, okay? Now, the national average for reading has dropped significantly, right? I mean, we're down to a 9.2 average for grade 9, guys. Like, it's starting to get really low. But the thing is, we do have some things that are moving up, but the rest just keep falling down. So why is it? Do you believe that these NAPLAN tests are actually benefiting the schooling system, or are they hindering the schooling system? I understand that overall in Australia, we need to have an idea of what's happening within our school systems and to see whether or not our children are actually, really improving and learning. But are these NAPLAN tests really the way to go? I mean, they're complaining and saying that's the reading, right? So we've got basically the year 5 year 5 numeracy, year 3 and year 5 reading, year 3 and 5 spelling, and year 3 grammar. They were above 2008's average. But that's not very much average. It was only just, okay? So here's the thing. How is it that our children are getting dumber, as they say, when we have so much technology these days to be able to help people? You may see where I'm going with this. So the kids that are coming through in these grades, 3s, 5s, and 7s, not so much the grades 9s, but the 3, 5s, and 7s, they've spent so much of their life with technology from birth, right? So if they wanted to know something, they ask Google, they ask Siri, they pop it into a phone or an iPad, they ask the question. They don't even have to spell, right? They can get straight onto this phone. They can go straight into your Safari and they can click on the little speaker, the little microphone, and they can actually ask a question and not even know how to spell the words or to type the question out. So I do believe that as much as technology is helping us in life, it's also starting to hinder our education when it comes to our kids. But here's the next big problem. This year, NAPLAN was taken on computers. So it wasn't done by handwritten tests as it's been done previous years. It was actually done online with the technology this year. So how can we weigh those up for it to be even from 10 years ago testing to testing now? And what happens with all these kids who are coming through the system and we're being asked as parents, do you really want to have your child sit NAPLAN? Would you like an exemption for your child? Why should we, as teachers and parents, exempt our children from these tests just so the national average can increase? Therefore, we're lying on all these tests, right? So therefore, the NAPLAN results that show throughout Australia are not correct, because there are so many children who have been exempt from even sitting this test, is that you could just imagine how bad the results would be if these children weren't exempt. Because at the end of the day, it's all about money, right? It's all about how much money the government's going to give each individual school in regards to the results that school's showing. Now, at the moment, I have been working closely with a lot of, small children in primary school. I have one in high school, and we're working on things that, your class is learning difficulties. But sometimes they're not learning difficulties, guys, okay? Sometimes they are a result from an event that has happened previously in their life and that has then been taken on board by that child's soul, and their subconscious has kept that inside them. So now as they're stepping up into, to grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 and more, these trapped emotions from the experiences that they've had previously in life are starting to take more effect. So it's not the fact that these kids are dumb. In no way, shape or form are these kids dumb. But sitting all of these children who all come from different backgrounds, we're multicultural here now in Australia. We have kids who have started their school year with only very basic English. So for them, it is difficult to pick up on what the rest of the class is learning when they only have basic English to start with. So there are so many circumstances that we need to take into consideration when it comes to our education. It's not the fact that our kids are getting dumber. It's the fact that the education system isn't moving with our children. The education system isn't moving with the times. Yes, fair enough, we're involving things like the technology now. You need an iPad at school now. You've got computers almost in every class. I'm not saying we're not keeping up with technology like that. We are. But the problem comes in the way that we're testing our kids. The problem comes that the governments want our children to learn so much that they're putting so much pressure onto the teachers and everybody who helps out to teach our children at school, is that even they are being overloaded. How can you expect a teacher to teach your children when they only have 20 minutes, half an hour on a subject? How then can we test those students when that subject or that core of that subject is only being taught 3 or 4 times in a term? It's the cramming of all this knowledge and trying to cram it all in and to push all this effort onto our teachers. And then our teachers are being stressed. And when our teachers are stressed, it shows. It shows in our body language. It shows in the way we speak. It shows within how engaged we are. So when teachers are coming to school and they're exhausted, when teachers are coming to school and they feel just so overwhelmed with the system, how can we as parents support that? And how as parents can we support our children? There are many different ways that we can look at this. But I want to bring to your attention that no matter what the NAPLAN result says, no matter what the report card says, your child is not dumb. Maybe we're just looking in the wrong area. Let's start looking at the things that your child is exceptionally at. You know, they're exceptionally great at it. They just have such a passion for it. They love it, you know. Maybe that's where we should be focused. Instead of focusing on the things that we keep saying that our children can't do. You know, they just can't get it. Why can't they get it? They must be stupid. They must be something wrong with their brain. That's not entirely correct. Yes, we're all human beings. Yes, some of us do have different little neurons firing in different areas, and we may need medical intervention for that. But that's not the answer to everything. Trying to get these kids to fit into a square box where we're testing them day after day, term after term, semester after semester, year after year is not the answer to a better educated population within our country. I remember being at school, and I remember in grade 8, we used to do sewing class for 6 months. We learned how to sew. We were able to sew a little bag and sew little things. And then the other half of the year we did like cooking, right? We learned how to make a roux. I mean, there's some people who don't even know what a roux is, let alone how to make it. Some people don't even know how to chop an onion correctly without chopping their finger off or having to use some sort of tool or machine to chop it. Kids can't even sew on a button these days. Seriously. They're little tiny tasks that we can do in our everyday life that just aren't being taught to our children anymore. And I understand that the government says that as parents, these are the things that we should be teaching our children. Yes, I agree. As parents, we should be teaching all these little fine motor skills to our kids. But at the same time, the world that we live in now and the government that we have that pushes us to have that best house, to have the car, to go to uni, to have the better job, to pay your bills, and to have these parents who are now unable to even have one parent at home to teach their children. Who else can we turn to but the educators? I know some parents who have unfortunately thought that their life was so fantastic about owning a house and having new cars is that when they had a child, they realized that having that child is now brought so much financial burden onto them in the aspects that do they both end up having to go to work and miss out on all the little milestones of their children? Or do they not go to work and end up having to suffer and sell their home and move into a small unit just so they can afford for one parent to be at home with the child? We are losing our minimum skills. We are losing the everyday little necessities that we should be teaching our children because we're so focused on having to pay bills, on having to provide a house, the electricity, food in the fridge. These are all things that as a parent, they go through our mind every day. Do I have enough to pay my rent this week or mortgage this week? Do I have enough to go and buy the groceries this week? Do I have enough to send my child on school camp with everybody else? Is my child going to be the only child at book week not dressed up because I can't afford a costume? These are everyday trials that parents are going through, and it is really starting to break my heart the more parents that I speak to who are just so stressed out and overwhelmed. They're being pressured by the education system to get their children tested. Why aren't their children up to speed? Why hasn't the child learnt the alphabet? Why can't they read that book? Little Johnny can read the book, so why can't Susie? Well, do you know what? Little Johnny might have parents who have to both work full time just to be able to afford the food on the table. While little Susie may have one parent who earns a very good income, or she may have parents who don't work at all and are just on the pension, therefore are able to give their time to little Susie and be able to read her books every day, to be able to teach her the alphabet and the phonics every day, because they're there. So why is our government calling our children dumb? If the government can't see that the NAPLAN tests aren't working, if the government can't see that these results are going backwards, if the government can't see that we have more children coming through the system now with so-called learning difficulties, when are they going to change the education system? If they can't see these as issues, when are they going to fix them? They won't. So it is up to us as parents to know our children, to be involved in our lives, be a part of it for them. Sit down and listen to them, okay? Ask them, what's hard? What's easy? Encourage the things that they're passionate about. Encourage the things that they're good about. Build them up. Build them up with such power that when they aren't good at something, they don't fade away. They don't just give up. They understand that that is not where they're successful, and that's okay. So it's about balance, guys. It really is. If you're going to test a fish and a monkey to climb a tree, the fish is going to sit there and just look at that tree and think, seriously? How the hell am I supposed to compete with that monkey? He's going to do one or two things. He's going to try, even though he knows that it's impossible for him to get up that tree, he's still going to try. Or he's just going to give up completely. He's just going to sit back and just go, there's no point trying this whatsoever because I know the outcome. So this lands the fish in a predicament where later in life, when he becomes an adult and gets told about, an issue at work or just in a relationship even, he then has to then go back. His subconscious will go back into those files. It will look at that day of him sitting there looking at that tree, and it will become a pattern within that fish's life. The pattern will either be they continue trying no matter what, even though they know they may not win, or the pattern will be that they will always give up without trying, never pushing themselves further. So this is what we really need to think about, guys, is how much is this affecting our children's emotional state? It's not so much about the academics. How many times a day do you get asked, hi, are you feeling smart today? No. But yet our feelings and our emotions should be in check every day. So we want to feel excited. We want to feel important. We want to feel like we can give things a go. Sometimes it may be overwhelming, and that's okay. But I never, ever, ever would want to hear a child turn around and just say, I'm not worth it. For a child to say that they're not worth it shows then that inside them, that little ball, that little flame that keeps them going every day, it's burning out. And by the time that child becomes an adult, everything is gone. That little flame is gone. So don't let the flame burn out. Don't be the parent who gets pressured to have to take your kid out of the NAPLAN test. Don't be pressured by the education system and your schooling system to have your child tested and repeatedly tested to make sure that there's not something wrong with them. Have a talk to your teachers. Have a talk to the school. Have a talk with your child and find out what they're passionate about, what they're good at, and how we can build on that. Because that's where we need to build. Why build on things that we're absolutely terrible at? Nobody has to be perfect at everything. There's not one person on this planet who is exceptional at everything they do and touch. It's just unrealistic. So let's focus on the positive things. Let's focus on the things that the kids are good at, their passions and what they enjoy. And let's stop this cycle of testing and telling them there's something wrong with them. Because you, as their parent, loves them for who they are, and so should the rest of the world, including the education system and our governments. So have a think about that today. When your kids come home from school, sit down with them, have a chat. Find out what their passions are. Find out what they absolutely love about school. And see if you can enhance that and work on that a little bit more. Because our children aren't dumb. We just live in a world now where we have to find other ways to understand that it's okay not to be perfect at everything and to enhance the things that you are good at. Alrighty, go and have an amazing day. Please have a talk to your children. Don't ever call them dumb or stupid, and encourage your child to follow their passions, because it's when we follow our passions that our fire burns brighter and our lives start changing. Go and enjoy your day with your children. See you later.